My family kicked me out because my sister falsely accused me of stealing her engagement ring. 3 years later, they discovered it in the garbage disposal. I never imagined I'd be telling this story, but here goes. I'm Elliot, 26 years old, and 3 years ago, my life was flipped upside down by a false accusation from my older sister, Gemma, who is 29. I grew up in a little town in Ohio with my parents, John, 55, and Lisa, 53, and my sister, Gemma. We lived in a modest 2-story house that my parents bought when they first got married. It wasn't fancy, but it was home. My father worked as a high school math teacher, and my mother was a nurse at the local hospital. They weren't wealthy, but they made sure we had everything we needed. Growing up, Gemma and I were pretty close. We'd spend hours playing in our backyard, climbing the ancient oak tree and making up complicated games. She was always the leader, creating the rules and stories, while I was happy to just follow along. As we got older, though, things started to change. Gemma was always an overachiever. She was at the top of her class, captain of the debate team, and seemed to succeed at everything she tried. In contrast, I was more laid back. I did okay in school, but I was never as driven as Gemma. As we entered our teens, this difference started to wear away at our relationship. By the time Gemma left for college, we had grown apart. She went to a well-known university on a scholarship, while I stayed local and went to community college. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, so I took a variety of classes to try and figure things out. After graduating college, Gemma moved to the city and started working at a big marketing agency. She'd come home for holidays and some weekends, full of stories about her exciting life and great job. I couldn't help feeling like I didn't measure up. In contrast, I was still living at home, working part-time at the local grocery store, trying to figure out my next move. Despite our differences, I always thought Gemma and I were okay. We weren't as close as we had been, but I figured that was just part of growing up. I had no idea how quickly everything could fall apart. 3 years ago, Gemma and her boyfriend, Tom, 31, got engaged. They had been dating for 2 years, and everyone was thrilled. Tom was a lawyer from a wealthy family, and my parents absolutely loved him. He proposed with a stunning diamond ring that had been in his family for generations. Gemma was overjoyed and couldn't stop showing it off to everyone. The engagement party was a huge event. My parents invited what felt like the entire town to our house to celebrate. I remember feeling a little out of place among the wealthier people Gemma and Tom had invited from the city. I stuck close to my old high school friends who were still in town, feeling more comfortable with them than with Gemma's fancy crowd. About a month after the engagement, everything fell apart. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I had the day off from work. I was in my room playing video games, enjoying the quiet house. Gemma was visiting for a week, taking some time off work to start planning the wedding with our mom. I heard Gemma and Mom return home from a shopping trip. They were talking and laughing downstairs. I didn't think much of it and went back to my game. About an hour later, I heard Gemma scream. I ran downstairs to see what was happening, and she accused me of taking her engagement ring. She explained that she had taken it off while doing dishes and left it on the kitchen counter. When she came back for it, it was gone. I was shocked and quickly denied taking it, but Gemma refused to listen. She kept yelling that I was the only other person in the house, so it had to be me. She brought up how I was always jealous of her success and how I probably wanted to sell the ring so I could finally move out and do something with my life. But there was always a part of me that was angry and hurt by what had happened. I missed my old life and my family, but I couldn't forgive them for not believing me. Every holiday season was difficult. When I saw families shopping together or heard Christmas music, I felt a pang of sadness for what I had lost. Then, last week, I got an unexpected email from my father. The subject line just said, "We need to talk." The message was short, saying they needed to meet with me immediately and that it was about the ring incident. At first, I was tempted to ignore it, like I had with all their previous attempts to reach me, but something made me hesitate. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe a small part of me still wanted some kind of resolution. After arguing with myself for hours, I decided to hear them out. I called my father, and what he said left me stunned. The ring had been found. Gemma had accidentally knocked it into the garbage disposal while doing the dishes. She only realized this a few days before when the disposal started making weird noises, and they called a plumber to check it out. My father said Gemma was very upset when she understood what had happened and realized I had been telling the truth all along. He said they all felt terrible about what they had done to me and wanted to make things right. I hung up the phone feeling a mix of emotions. On one hand, I felt completely justified. I had always told the truth and now everyone knew it. But I was also angry. I was furious that it took 3 years to find out the truth, that I had missed out on so much time with my family, and that I had struggled alone for so long when I had done nothing wrong. Now I'm at a crossroads. My family wants me to come back home. They say they want to make things right. Gemma has been calling and messaging nonstop asking for forgiveness, but I'm not sure I can forgive them. They kicked me out without a second thought, chose to believe the worst of me, and left me to fend for myself for 3 years. Part of me wants to tell them all to go to hell and let them live with the shame of what they did. But another part of me misses my old life and wonders if there's any way to rebuild what we've lost. I don't know what to do. Should I give them a chance to make amends, or should I keep living the life I've built for myself without them? I'm torn and could really appreciate some outside perspective on this whole situation. Update 1. It's been a week since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their advice and support. It truly helped me work through my emotions and figure out what to do. After a lot of back and forth, I decided to meet with my family. I felt like I owed it to myself to face them and get some closure, even if I wasn't sure about reconciliation. We decided to meet at a neutral spot, a small coffee shop in the next town over. I chose it because it was far enough from our hometown that we wouldn't run into anyone we knew, but close enough that everyone could get there without too much trouble. I was pretty nervous the day of the meeting. I hadn't seen my family in 3 years, and I wasn't sure what to expect. I got to the coffee shop early and picked a table in the corner where we could have some privacy. When they walked in, it felt like a punch to the gut. Seeing them after 3 years was intense. Our parents got home in the middle of the chaos, and Gemma told them her side of the story. To my horror, they believed her completely. My mother started to cry, asking how I could do such a thing to my own sister. My father just looked at me with disappointment in his eyes. They started searching my room and turned everything upside down. They didn't find the ring, but they did find some money I had saved from my grocery store job. It wasn't much, maybe a few $100s, but Gemma immediately seized on it, claiming I must have sold the ring and that's where the money came from. I tried to explain that I had been saving for months and was thinking about taking some classes at the local community college, but no one would listen. The next few days were a nightmare. My parents and Gemma kept pushing me to confess and give the ring back. They threatened to call the police if I didn't come clean. I was scared and felt completely alone. No one in my family believed me, and I was treated like a criminal in my own home. I tried calling some of my friends, but most of them had moved away after high school. The few who stayed in town seemed unwilling to get involved in family problems. I felt more alone than ever. After a week of constant accusations and threats, my parents made a decision that would change my life forever. They told me I had to leave. They said they couldn't trust me anymore and that I was bringing shame on the family. They gave me 2 days to pack my things and go. I was heartbroken. I had nowhere to go and didn't know what I would do. My best friend from high school, Ryan, who had recently returned to town after being in the army, offered to let me crash on his couch for a while. But I knew I couldn't stay there long. His apartment was small, and he was still getting back on his feet. I packed everything I could into a backpack and an old duffel bag: clothes, books, my laptop, and a few items that held happy memories. As I was leaving, I saw Gemma watching me from her old bedroom window. I thought I saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes, but she quickly looked away. Walking out of that house, the only one I'd ever known, was the hardest thing I had ever done. I felt betrayed and abandoned by the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. The saddest part was, I had done nothing wrong. For the next 2 months, I bounced between Ryan's couch and cheap motels when I could afford them. I took any odd job I could find to make ends meet. I worked as a dishwasher, a dog walker, and even spent a few weeks on a construction crew. It was tough, but I was determined to prove my innocence and succeed on my own. Eventually, I got a steady job at a warehouse on the edge of town. The work was hard, the hours were long, but the pay was consistent. The salary wasn't amazing, but it allowed me to rent a small room in a shared house with some other warehouse workers. I slowly started to rebuild my life, but the pain of what had happened never went away. I'd lie awake at night replaying the events in my mind, wondering how things had gone so wrong. How could my family have turned against me so quickly? How could Gemma, who had grown up with me and knew me better than anyone, believe I would do such a thing? I cut off all contact with my family. They tried to reach out several times at first. My mother would leave emotional voicemails urging me to come home and fix things. My father sent a few curt text messages saying we needed to talk. Gemma even showed up at the warehouse once, but I refused to see her. I couldn't bear to talk to them after what they had done. As far as I was concerned, they weren't my family anymore. For 3 years, this was how I lived. I made new friends at work and in my shared house. We'd hang out after shifts, drink beer, and watch games. It wasn't the life I had pictured for myself, but it was mine, and I had built it from nothing. I worked hard and was even promoted to shift supervisor at the warehouse. I started taking online classes to learn business management. I was slowly figuring out what I wanted to do with my life. As for Gemma, I've decided to keep my distance for now. Her actions had affected me the most, and I wasn't ready to forgive her yet. I told her I needed more time before I could even think about having a relationship with her again. She was upset, but said she understood and would wait until I was ready. It's been a tough week, with lots of ups and downs emotionally. I've had moments where I question my decision, wondering if I'm being too harsh or if I'm missing a chance to reconnect with my family. But then I remember how quickly they turned on me, and I realize I'm doing the right thing by taking things slowly. I've also started looking into therapy options. Many of you suggested it in the comments, and I think it would be helpful to have a professional to talk to as I navigate this tricky situation. I've never been to therapy before, so I'm a little nervous, but I think it could be good for me. For now, my main focus is on my job and my studies. I have a big project coming up at work, and I'm determined not to let all this family drama distract me from my goals. I'm also thinking about moving to a better apartment. I've been saving, and I think I'm ready for a place of my own without roommates. Thank you again for your support. It's comforting to know there are people out there who understand and care, even if we've never met. I'll post another update if anything big changes. Update 2. It's been almost a month since my last update, and I wanted to share some progress. I've been sticking to the boundaries I set with my family. We've had a few phone calls and text messages, but nothing too intense. It's been okay. Awkward at times, but not as painful as I expected. My parents have mostly respected my wishes. They check in now and then, but they don't ask for more than I'm ready to give. I can tell they're trying hard to rebuild trust, but it's a slow process. My mother calls once a week like we agreed. These calls were strained at first, with long silences, but they're getting easier. We usually talk about neutral things like her job at the hospital, the weather, and my online classes. It's not much, but it's a start. My father has been sending me short emails, usually just to check in or share something he thinks I'd be interested in. Last week, he forwarded me an article about a new business opening in our hometown. It was a small gesture, but it reminded me of how he used to clip newspaper articles for me when I was younger. Gemma has struggled with the distance I've created between us. She's sent me many long, emotional texts apologizing and pleading for a chance to make things right. I've responded simply, saying that I need more time. It's hard, but I'm holding firm on this. I know she's hurting, but I'm not ready to deal with her feelings when I'm still dealing with my own. My mother burst into tears the moment she saw me. She looked older than I remembered, with more gray hair and lines around her eyes. My father looked weary and tired, his shoulders slumped as if he was carrying a huge weight. Gemma couldn't look me in the eye at first. She seemed smaller and less sure of herself than the sister I remembered. We sat down, and for a while, no one knew what to say. Then they all started talking at once, with apologies pouring out. My parents said they felt they had failed as parents by not trusting me and kicking me out. They admitted they had regretted their decision every single day since, but pride and shame had stopped them from reaching out sooner. My father, who had always been a man of few words, talked for a long time about how he had replayed those days in his head, trying to understand how he could have been so blind. He said he had always prided himself on being fair and reasonable, but that emotion had clouded his judgment when it mattered most. My mother, through tears, told me how she had kept my room exactly as I had left it, hoping that one day I would come back. She said she would wake up in the middle of the night thinking she had heard me come home, only to realize what had really happened. Gemma also broke down crying, saying she would never forgive herself for accusing me and ruining our relationship. She mentioned how she had always looked up to me when we were kids, even though I was younger. She admitted she had been so focused on her own life and problems that she had lost sight of what was truly important. As they talked, memories of our childhood came flooding back. I remembered how Gemma stood up for me when I was bullied in middle school. I thought about all the times we had laughed together, shared secrets, and supported each other during tough times. It made the betrayal hurt even more, but it also reminded me of the good times we'd had. I heard everything they said, but I couldn't bring myself to forgive them just yet. The pain and anger from the past 3 years were still too fresh. I told them I needed time to process things. They seemed to understand and didn't push for more. My mom wanted to hug me before we left, but I pulled back. I wasn't ready for that kind of closeness yet. The hurt look on her face almost made me change my mind, but I stayed firm. I needed to protect myself emotionally. After the meeting, I went back to my apartment and thought carefully about what I wanted. Did I want to go back to my old life? Could I ever trust them again? Was it worth trying to fix our relationship? I realized that while I missed having a family, I had also grown a lot in the past 3 years. I had become independent, strong, and had built a life for myself from nothing. I wasn't the same person they had kicked out 3 years before. I thought about my warehouse job, my online classes, and the friends I had made. I had worked hard to get where I was, and I was proud of what I had achieved on my own. The thought of giving that up and returning to my old life felt wrong. At the same time, I couldn't deny that seeing my family had stirred up a lot of feelings. Despite everything, I still loved and missed them. I wondered if I could have a relationship with them while still keeping my independence. After a few days of thinking, I made a decision. I called my parents and explained that while I appreciated their apology, I wasn't ready to fully reconcile yet. I told them I needed more time and space to heal. I also set some boundaries. I said I was willing to have minimal contact with them, but I wasn't moving back home or pretending nothing had happened. I told them that if we were going to continue our connection, it had to be on my terms. They seemed disappointed, but said they understood. They promised to respect my boundaries and give me the time I needed. My mother asked if she could call me once a week to check in, and I agreed. thinking it would be a good way to slowly rebuild trust. The big news is that I've started therapy. I found a counselor who specializes in family trauma, and we've had a few sessions so far. It's been difficult bringing up all the pain from the past, but I think it's helping. My therapist is helping me work through my anger and trust issues, and also giving me strategies for setting healthy boundaries. In our last session, we talked about how the incident with the ring was more than just the accusation, but also years of feeling like I didn't measure up to Gemma's achievements. It's made me realize that there were problems in our family dynamic long before the ring incident, and that healing will involve addressing those too. One unexpected result of all this is that I've become closer to my friends, especially Ryan. They've been incredibly supportive through this whole ordeal. Ryan even offered to go with me to any future family meetings for moral support. It's taught me that family isn't just about blood. It's about who stands by you when things get tough. Work has been a welcome distraction. I've thrown myself into my job and even got a small promotion. I'm now in charge of inventory management for my shift, which means more responsibility and a slight pay raise. It feels good to have something positive to focus on. As for my living situation, I've decided to stay where I am for now. It's not much, but it's mine and symbolizes the independence I've worked so hard for. My parents offered to help me find a better place, but I declined. I need to do this on my own. However, I have started looking seriously into options for continuing my education. A state university about an hour away offers night classes. I'm considering applying to their business program. It would be a big step, but I think I'm ready for it. Overall, I'm taking it one day at a time. Some days are harder than others. There are moments when I miss our easy connection as a family, but then I remember how quickly they turned on me, and I realize I can't rush this process. My therapist thinks it's healthy to have mixed feelings about everything. She encourages me to be patient with myself and not feel pressured to forgive before I'm ready. We're working on ways to handle upcoming family gatherings and holidays, which are making me more anxious than I'd like to admit. For the time being, my priorities are healing and building a life I can be proud of, with or without my family. It's not easy, but I feel hopeful about the future. I'm learning that it's okay to put myself first, and that setting boundaries doesn't make me a bad person. Thank you for your continued support. Your comments and messages have given me strength during this process. It's comforting to know I'm not alone in dealing with family issues like these. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my original post, so I thought it was time for a final update. A lot has changed in the past few months. The biggest news is that I've decided to move to a different city for a new job opportunity. It's a significant step up in my career, and I'm really looking forward to the new challenges. The job is with a logistics company, and the work is similar to what I did at the warehouse but on a much larger scale. It's a management role, which I've been working towards for a while. The pay is much higher than what I was making before, and it includes benefits like health insurance and a 401k plan. Before making this decision, I had a long talk with my therapist. We discussed how this move would impact my healing process and my relationship with my family. Ultimately, we agreed that this would be a good thing for me, a chance to fully stand on my own 2 feet and to find myself outside of all the family drama. I told my parents about the move last week. They were surprised and disappointed, but they said they understood. My mother cried a little, saying she had hoped we'd have more time to fix our relationship before I left. My father was more quiet about it, but I could see he was disappointed too. They were both worried about me being alone in a new place, but I told them I'd be okay. Gemma took it the hardest. After I told her, she showed up at my apartment unannounced, pleading with me not to go. She admitted she felt like she was losing me all over again. It was a difficult conversation, but I stood my ground. I told her this was something I needed to do for myself, and that our relationship wasn't at a point where her opinion could sway my decision. Our relationship with my family is improving, but it's not perfect. We've had several family dinners in recent months. They've been uncomfortable and awkward at times, but we're slowly getting used to being around each other again. Trust is still a major issue. I sometimes question their reasons, wondering if they truly mean what they say, or if they're just trying to ease their guilt. My therapist has been essential throughout this. She's helped me understand my feelings and set boundaries. She's stressed that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or pretending the pain never happened. It's about letting go of my anger so I can find peace of mind. I've taken that to heart. While I don't think I'll ever forget what happened, I'm trying to forgive my family, not for their sake, but for mine. Carrying around all that anger and bitterness was heavy, and I'm ready to let it go. As I get ready for this move, I've been thinking about everything that's happened. 3 years ago, I thought my life was over. I had lost everything, including everyone I cared about. But now, I see how much I've learned from that experience. I'm stronger, more independent, and have a better sense of my own worth than I ever did before. I don't know what the future holds for me and my family. We plan to stay in touch once I move, with weekly phone calls and visits during the holidays. It's a start. Maybe with time and distance, we can build something new. For now, my focus is on the future. I'm excited about my new job, the new city, and the opportunities waiting for me. I've started looking for apartments online and researching the area where I'll be living. It's a mix of excitement and nervousness, but I'm mostly looking forward to this next chapter in my life. Whatever happens with my family, I'm confident I'll be okay. I've proven to myself that I can handle whatever life throws at me, and I've learned the importance of surrounding myself with people who believe in me and support me, whether they're family or not.